What's up everyone, this is CyberKnight, and today I thought it'd be fun to rank all the different Yu-Gi-Oh products that came out for 2022. Instead of doing like a top 10 list, I figured this would be a better way. We can just talk about all the products that came out, my thoughts on them, what I thought was good, what I thought was kind of meh and not so good, and just things like that. So if you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like. It really helps out the channel grow and helps it do better, and let me know if you want to see more content like this in the future too. It just kind of seemed like a fun thing, and I don't know if I ever really did a tier list on my channel, and I know this is a thing that isn't really trending anymore, but it was still like the best way I felt like to talk about the products that came out for this year. So let's get to it, okay? First off, we have the Grand Creators. That was the first thing that came out. A pretty cool product. It was one of those where basically you get the 3 different archetypes and then you can get some collector's rares out of it. Of course, the 3 archetypes being the Exo Sisters, the Punks, and then of course the Adventure archetype. Adventures were kind of the main thing at the beginning people cared about. I mean, you know, it was pretty popular because it could be used in a variety of different decks out there. Like most decks were just throwing in that engine, so it was doing well. And then, of course, I feel like Punks and Exo Sisters got a little bit more hype later on. You know, people are like, hey, the Punk engine is actually really good, so they finally got some hype on that. And the Exo Sisters kept getting some new support that made them even stronger. So honestly, I feel like this was a really good set. The collector's rares are always, you know, pretty decent too in these kind of things as well. I want to give this thing, let's give it probably around A. Because, yeah, it had some good things for the competitive side and even like rogue decks that I feel like really helped out. And it was a set too I spent quite a bit of money on this year. I seem to always like those kind of sets. Anyway, next up we have Battle of Chaos. This was the first main set that was released for us, okay? So that's like one of the core different sets. It kind of started off this year with a bang because this actually gave us brand new support for Dark Magician and Blue Eyes. And you guys know whenever those two get support, a set does pretty well, right? I mean, it is kind of that simple. So I do think it was a fairly good one, and I enjoyed too how we kind of had that Chase Dark Magician in it too that I ended up actually pulling, and it was just a lot of fun to actually get that card. So out of the main sets, I would say it's not the best main set that we had this year, so we'll get more into that here in a little bit. But I feel like it's around, I want to say it's close to A, but I'll give it B. Because I feel like it could have been a little bit better competitive-wise. I feel like it needed a few more things. I mean, it did give us Chimera even too, but I don't know. I feel like it could have been just a little bit better as we saw from some of the other main sets. Now, of course, Hidden Arsenal Chapter 1. Oof, this set. It was interesting to see this one, I will say. Finally some reprints on some Hidden Arsenal stuff that we haven't seen in a while. I did enjoy that. It had some other good reprints too, and I like seeing the dual terminal rarity. That rarity was really cool to actually see. That was one of the saving things, I feel like, about this set. The thing is, though, it was too late. Like, I don't know who thought of this product. It felt like it was just way too late. Like, I wanted it to be really good, really successful. And again, it did have some cool things and even some stuff for, like, even GOAT format and Edison if you wanted as well. You know, get some, like, MSTs and, like, the dual terminal rarity. And a Skill Drain was probably the biggest card, really, from it. And other things, too. It was nice. But there really wasn't much to it. I feel like if all the other archetypes would have gotten a few extra support cards, like Natria would have got some support cards, yeah, we finally got that Dragoonie card we were missing and stuff too, that would have been cool, but yeah, it just really wasn't much. It was just like a reprint set that I felt like that was half-baked. So honestly, I think it was our worst product of this year, so I'm going to put it in the D category. Then next up, Speed Duel GX, the Speed Duel box. Alright, this was actually a really cool product. I feel like a lot of people hate on speed duels. I understand why. I do get it, but it is kind of nice to have a different format. Basically a way I can play Yugioh without playing whatever the meta is. And this product, though, was pretty good for around $30, and now you're finding it actually cheaper. You're getting several decks of cards you can play, and it's basically a way to get someone into the game, and I still think of speed duels as a way to get new players into game too, as we don't have starter decks. So I'm going to actually give this a B. I felt like it was a decent product, had some cool stuff, and yeah, I felt like it was kind of right in that middle. If it would have had a few extra things maybe, but it did have some good reprints too, so yeah. Next up, our first structure deck. This is the Albaz Strike structure deck. This structure deck was really good. Had some good reprints for us. It did have some useful things. The main thing, though, being it was about Albaz. It was one of those structure decks where people could buy 3 of them and actually do pretty well. I mean, Albaz, as you guys know, that was kind of, I feel like, one of the more standout archetypes of this year as well. And it was very powerful, and especially with Branded Fusion and everything that this structure deck brought for them, it was something that definitely helped them out and was very powerful. So I would say it's probably... I think I would actually say it was the strongest structure deck of this year. So I will give it an A, because it was a good product to pick up. Again, had those reprints, but just the actual good cards it had itself, which is usually how I judge a structure deck. It's not by if it like reprints Ash Blossom and this, that, and the other. No. I judge it mainly by, is this archetype good? If I'm like not counting the reprints and I'm using the brand new cards it supported, is it garbage, or am I just buying this for the reprints? It's a good structure deck, so it does deserve some extra points. Then after that, we had the brand new Ghosts from the Past, the second Haunting. I really like Ghosts from the Past. The first one was a cool set. It was just nice that, hey, we had Ghost Rares again. I mean, that was kind of the big thing. The downside is the reprints were very hit or miss. Like, there was a few good reprints, actually, in the first one. Other than that, it was like, okay, I'm looking for Ghost Rares or I'm looking for Dragoonities. That was the reason you were actually getting it. Felt like there was no in-between on that, really. This one had way better reprints, I will say. The reprints were much better. It seemed to be a little bit better on the Ghost Rares, too. I felt like we had much more Ghost Rares in it. Like, people... I felt like I saw more posts where people could just buy a few packs and, oh, look, I got the Ghost Rare. So, yeah, I consider that to be pretty fun, too, and it actually had quite a few Ghost Rares in it as well. So, I actually want to also give it an A. I thought it was a very good product. You know, it had flaws, but it was one of those products that I felt like is still worth picking up, and it had a lot of good things in it. Now for Dimension Force. Yeah, Dimension Force, I feel like was honestly the worst set of this year. Like, out of the main, like, horror sets that we have, I felt like it just didn't really deliver as much. It gave us a few different things, you know, it gave us, of course, even some new stuff for Odd Eyes, but I think that's one of the things that hurt it. So going with Odd Eyes, which doesn't always do the best, I like Odd Eyes, don't get me wrong, but its support is either good or just don't pay attention to it. It's boring. I felt that way about it. And there were some pretty decent things, but really it is one of those sets where I feel like if I'm going to choose out of any of the main sets to pick up, this is the worst one. It really didn't have the best stuff in it. Had a few little cool things here and there. I mean, even, you know, one of the main things I remember from it was actually Magnifica, basically the new Xyz monster that came out for the Sisters. But other than that, it just, yeah, it just wasn't the best set. So honestly, I feel like I'm being nice by putting it in the C tier. I feel like it could almost hit D, but I feel like D tier is like, don't ever get it, don't ever get it. And then S is like, oh my god, this is still worth picking up, buy it, kind of thing. Okay, that's how I'm kind of judging this. So I'll give it a C. Then after that, oh boy, this is one that's pretty tough. This is Legendary Duelist Duels from the Deep, the Mako Tsunami pack, basically. You know, it had some shark support, had, you know, Mako's cards in it, and Marine Cess. And a few other, you know, decent reprints. We had, of course, Forbidden Droplet. That was kind of the big reprint. And even a Ghost Rare, number 101. This, I feel like, killed the Legendary Duelist packs. I really do, because it doesn't seem like we're going to see any more of them. Nothing's been announced so far. Who knows? Maybe something will change. This one just really didn't bring anything. I like the Shark support, because I like to play Shark every so often. I play that a lot on Master Duel. But still, that didn't do much. The Mako cards, I've seen some fun builds with those, I will say. But not really competitive. It's more on the rogue side, so it can be fun, but nothing too much. And really the only reason people were buying the set was for Droplet. And I can't even say the Ghost Rare, because the Ghost Rare, nowadays 101 isn't really played at all. It was one of the better Xyz when it first came out, not anymore. So it's like a really cheap Ghost Rare now too, which I guess works out for people that want a cheap Ghost Rare. Either way, it is one of those sets where I believe, yeah, if Droplet wouldn't have been reprinted again later on in like the Mega 10s and stuff, I would say, hey, maybe we'd bring it to C. It's honestly not a very good set, so hurts me to say, but yeah. Then after that, Legendary Duelist Season 3. This, of course, is like reprints of a bunch of different Legendary Duelist sets, and as I've said before, I like a lot of Legendary Duelist sets. But they did do some good reprints, but man, did they mess up on Magician Souls. Magician Souls was like supposed to be the biggest reprint of this set. I've opened up several of these boxes and didn't get one of them. Now, also, that's luck. You know, I can't always judge by that. That's a luck thing. So, some people could get one and get them really easily. You know, maybe even a couple. I don't know. I don't know if anyone's that lucky, but still, I guess it's possible. Anyway, I feel like it reprinted a few little things that were needed, but then also it's like, hey, for just the couple of cards I really cared about from this set, they could have just been in like a Battles of Legend or something, you know? Again, I felt like it was really lacking, and when I see this set, I don't pick it up. Like, I really don't. The Dark Magician stuff is cool, but I felt like it could be reprinted in anything else. Could have thrown that into a Battles of Legend and just really not have had this. So, I know. I feel like I'm a little hard on this one. It could be C, but if Magician Souls would have been a little easier to get, I would have given it C or possibly B if the reprints were better. Then, of course, another one of the main sets that came out towards the middle of this year, and that is Power of the Elements. Power of the Elements, I thought was a really good set. Honestly, spoilers, I guess, I consider it the best set of this year, and you know, for like a main set. It gave us sprites, which are very powerful in the meta. It gave us tier elements, you know, 2 of the strongest decks right now. Boom. Gave us hero support, so it even made me happy with that. You know, I got my hero support. It gave us some good world premieres, too, with Garuda. That's a really good fusion monster. A lot of different stuff. Of course, Exo Sisters, again, got another card from this one, and they actually got Martha. So, yeah, this was a really good set. Honestly, this is still a set where I'm like, hey, I would pick this up. You know, this is still like a good Christmas present for someone, and it makes it a little tough to say where I would place it. I almost want to put it at S tier. If I thought that you could, you know, get a box and not get some throwaway stuff, honestly. So I'll give it the A tier. Again, S tier is like, buy it. It's the best. Pick it up. You won't lose money. That's how I look at it. So it's very close, but with a main set too, not everything is good. So I'll put it in the A tier, I think, is the smartest move for that. Now, of course, Tactical Masters. I really enjoyed this set, too. This is another one that's one of my favorites, actually, for the year. This is probably the set I spent the most money on this year because I really enjoyed the collector rares that were in it. Of course, too, it gave us the Valiance, it gave us the Labyrinth, and then, of course, too, Runic. Labyrinth and Runic are actually doing pretty well. We see Runic a lot more, I feel like, in more tournament stuff. Labyrinth is kind of that rogue in between. Valiance, we don't really see, unfortunately, which is a shame. It's kind of a cool archetype. Anyway, for this one, even though I would say it's one of my favorites, I would say it's kind of in there in the middle. It's got to be about B tier. It's a great set, in my opinion. It still has some great cards, and if I see it, I usually pick it up because I want to try to hunt down a collector's rare. But for most people, if you want the bang for your buck, it's definitely not deserving to be in the A tier or S on that because you could easily get nothing worth its value. So that's why I'm like, yeah, you know. But yeah. I would say B tier, even though I probably spent the most money, again, on that set. Now for the 2022 10 of Pharaoh Gods. Alright, it's the Mega 10. It's pretty easy to see where I'm going to go with this. Mega 10s are always worth getting. They just are. And this was probably the best of the 3 Mega 10s that we've had to go with the tablet, basically. It's the last piece of the tablet, and honestly, it's the best one. It gave us reprints of Dragoon, Crossout Designator, you know, like 2 of the cards that were the previous 10s, like the whole reasons for buying those. And then you're getting other things too, like Triple Tactics, you know, Lightning Storm, Forbidden Droplet. There were a lot of different things. New cards even for the God cards, at least for that fun side, you know, that's kind of cool. And yeah, I just feel like they're always worth picking up. So I'm saying S tier. It's a product you can pick up now and probably even 3 years later and get your money's worth. So I believe it's a good set to pick up. And of course, too, they made it easier to get the Blue Eyes, Red Eyes, and Dark Magician Girl. I'm still happy they did that. They could have gone either way on that, honestly. Now, of course, too, for the Legend of the Crystal Beast structure deck. This was a pretty good structure deck. It had some good reprints in it. I liked it because Crystal Beast. I do like Crystal Beast. I'm a fan of a lot of GX stuff. GX is really close to being my favorite of the series, honestly. If the original just didn't have that nostalgia for me, I might say GX. I really enjoyed, especially the Japanese dub and the last season that we didn't get. Anyway, I like Crystal Beast, so I enjoyed this. But also, too, they made this worth it. We actually got to keep Ash Blossom. It wasn't an effect failure for us. We got Haunted Mansion as well. So, Both of those made that worth buying this deck for sure. I still say, though, that I kind of grade decks on how strong they are, like, together, and I do feel like this deck does pretty well with, like, the new Rainbow Dragon stuff and all that, too, that it was a fun deck. I'm going to, controversially, probably... That's a tough one. I'm going to give it a B. To go with what I said, because I still firmly believe in it, you can't really buy 3 of this deck and go win a tournament. Albaz, you could do that. I don't feel like you really can with the Crystal Beast one. It had good stuff, and it was worth the $10, for sure. If you still don't have Ash Blossoms or Haunted Mansion or nothing like that, pick it up. It's still worth that, but yeah, you know. It's a cool thing, but I'll stick with what I said and put that at a B, although part of me says it's A material, so I can see that being controversial. And then next up, we have the Duel GX Midterm Paradox box. This box was okay. It's not as good as the other GX box, but yeah, I thought it was fun. I think it's a fun little product because mainly, too, whatever sales were going on, it was like $10 for it, and you were getting like 4 decks of cards to play speed duels. So honestly, I figure that's a good thing, you know, because for a cheap price, basically the price of 1 deck of cards, and normal price, it's 15, so a little bit over even a deck of cards, you can have multiple friends play Yu-Gi-Oh! That's a good thing. I do like that. And the cards were fun. It was Gate Guardian again. You know, now we know, too, we're getting new support for Gate Guardian. So I feel like that kind of, you know, brought some interest back for it, you know, to actually making that possible. Either way, I think I'm going to give it a C. It's a good product, but maybe you just buy 1 or 2 and you're kind of done. Now, of course, for Darkwing Blast, basically the Blackwing set, right? Or a lot of stuff for tier elements. It did bring quite a few little things, too. This set is a pretty fun set. It's not Power of the Elements. It's not that, but it's not Dimension Force. So, honestly, it has to go right in between. That's just how I feel about it right there. It's not the worst one, because it does have some really good stuff in it. It really does. Some of the Secret Rares, too, are good. I feel like on the boxes, you either do really good or really bad. The Bestials are really good, too. You know, you get, of course, their Secret Rare. He's, I think, still the priciest one right now and stuff, too. And the Starlights were all waifus. And we even got, like, a really good Labyrinth monster from it, too. So, part of me wants to give it an A for that, but honestly, if we're going with common sense and how we're doing things, it's in the middle of Power of the Elements and Dimension Force. It has to be. Now for Magnificent Mavens. This is kind of an easy one, honestly, for me. You probably know exactly what I'm going to go with this. This set had no right to be as good as it was. I thought I would probably just buy a box and then skip this set. That's honestly how I felt, because it was new Sky Striker stuff, it was Witchcrafter stuff, then we saw that maybe some of Ishizu's cards would be in there. I figured they'd be really tough to get, so it probably wouldn't be worth hunting those down, I'll be honest. And then, of course, Mayakashi. I don't really care for the other 3 archetypes, you know, I don't really care for Sky Strikers. Mayakashis look fun, and Witchcrafters look fun, but I didn't plan on building them. So I thought it was going to be an easy pass. I didn't realize this set was going to have a ton of good reprints and permanents. Again, Lightning Storm and everything. Honestly, it was, in my opinion, probably the best set of this year, if you ask me on what to pick up. I think I'll say Mavens, honestly. So, S tier, for sure. I would even say it's better than Megatens. That's what I recommend to people. You can get these Shizu cards very easily from it. We'll see what happens on those in the future. But the reprints and permanents and all that too, like I said, just the reprints were good. Triple Tactics. You were getting like a lot of different stuff. A lot of Link monsters you can use and stuff too. It's Appaloosa, you know, getting that reprint and stuff too. It was a really good set. So it is one I definitely recommend. Then, towards the end here, we also have our Battles of Legend Crystal Revenge. Crystal Revenge is a pretty good Battles of Legend, I will say. It is one of those that I feel like can either go good or bad. You know, Battles of Legends, like, most time they're on the good side. But this one, I feel like had a few spots that could have been better. Like, I thought it was cool we had more Starlights in this one, not just one Starlight. It had some really cool stuff in it. It did have some good reprints, but there were a few secrets I was like, we could have put something else there. We could have had Pot of Prosperity and made that a little easier, because that's still, like, the main thing to get from the Megatens, really. And that's, like, the toughest one, I think, to get right now. So, I was like, if you would have reprinted that, that could have really helped this set. Other than that, the Advanced Crystal Beasts are fun. I like the anime-only archetypes, you know, that have finally been printed and stuff, too. But it makes it a tough one, so I think I'm going to say, I'll give it the A category. It could have been better, could have been worse. it's still a good set to pick up. It is one of those I still feel like I can recommend to people. And now, of course, the last one we have is the Dark World Structure Deck. Okay, what do I think about this one? Do I love this structure deck? Do I not? I'm not much of a Dark World guy, I will say. The reprints were decent, and this is still one of those structure decks I feel like that you could get 3 of them and do well. I feel like it kind of goes the other way, basically, than Crystal Beast. So honestly, I kind of rank them about the same. So that's what I'm going to go with. Because in my head, I'm like, I still believe Albaz was the best one. But this was still a good one, of course, too. When you're talking about reprints, though, and stuff, and then, you know, how competitive it was, they kind of, I feel like, do that. So seeing as one side had one but not the other, and this is a vice versa, I'm going to put them on the same stage right there. So, yeah, what do you guys think about this tier list? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Maybe you agree on most of it, but disagree on a few things. I don't know. Let me know, of course, down in those comments. And I will say, too, this was a pretty good year for Yugioh. I feel like this was a really good year. So, let's hope that next year will be even better, and it's looking to start off pretty strong, I think, from what we're hearing so far. So, thank you guys for watching. Like, subscribe, and all that. Again, let me know if you want to see more content like this. And, of course, I will. Catch you guys later. See ya.